radiation at the Fukushima power plant in March after that earthquake and tsunami. Well, that radiation circled the globe and it came all the way here to Pennsylvania. And about a month after that disaster, radiation levels spiked in our water at 3 of our Philadelphia facilities. But there could be a bigger problem than just the water. Let's check in right now with Shawnette for the very latest on this one.
Yeah, Karen, some people might call it a fluke. I actually think it's fascinating in the sense that it's something to think about because it is serious if this proves to be true. A local researcher says radiation from Japan combined with higher levels of iodine the EPA found in Philadelphia's water 2 months ago may be killing young babies here. We're reporting Joe Mangano's research not to alarm or cause panic, but to inform.
It's enough time to suggest, not to conclude yet. It's what the real benefit of this, it really is a red flag to be raised for more studies to be done.
Still, the numbers are alarming.
Number of infant deaths each week in Philadelphia has gone up 48%.
Joseph Mangano is talking about a significant increase in infant deaths in Philadelphia.
We've gone from average of 5 deaths per week to 7.5 deaths per week.
And what's even more thought-provoking is what he's attributing the deaths to.
Japan, there's a meltdown. The huge amounts of radiation comes out of the reactors into the air, floats across the Pacific Ocean, and within 6 days, it's here in the United States.
Mangano is the executive director of the Radiation and Public Health Project, made up of scientists and health professionals.
The great majority of infants who die in the first couple of weeks of life.
And yes, you heard him right. He believes radiation traveling from Japan to the U.S. by air we breathe, getting into the rain and our food, enters our bodies. And in this case, Mangano says it's affecting particularly pregnant women without them knowing, until their newborn suddenly dies.
It goes through the placenta and into the fetus. And we know this is not something new. We know this from years ago from the atomic bomb test fallout.
Where's the proof, you ask? Mangano looked at infant death data from the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Here, it shows an average of 5 infant deaths a week in the 5 weeks leading up to the fallout in Japan. Then, for the 10 weeks after Japan, there was an average of 7.5. That's a 48% jump. During the same time period, the rate of infant deaths for the whole country jumped just 2.3%. So, why the huge disparity? Mangano points to significant rainfall and iodine.
The EPA data showed us that the levels in drinking water in Philadelphia were the highest in the country. Out of the 7 highest readings, 5 were in Philadelphia. Is this a fluke? Is this just some other reason? We'll see. But we can't rule out Japan. It's too distinct.
So Mangano also looked at numbers for the same time period dating back 6 years. Karen, they showed a decline in infant deaths up until, as we said, this year.
I just find it so scary. I remember when it happened, I didn't even want my kids to play outside. What about women that were pregnant when this happened, who still may be pregnant right now? Is there anything they can do? I mean, what should they know?
Yeah, Karen, a great question. Whether a doctor who will subscribe to this theory, it's best to just ask your doctor. Also, we should point out no autopsy information regarding these infant deaths and radiation is available right now.
All right. I just don't know what to think about it. It's such a scary situation.
Wash what you eat. Be asking questions to the doctors. Absolutely.
All right. Thanks for that.
On April 29th, just last week, we had the top nuclear advisor to the Japanese Prime Minister. The top nuclear advisor resigned because he didn't want to continue lying and he didn't like what was going on. He felt the government was holding back, they weren't being honest. And now just this week we have another, and this guy he's all pro-nuclear. He's another well-renowned Japanese nuclear advisor, expert, and he's now saying, yeah, the numbers are way too low. The map I'm going to show you tonight, I'm not making this stuff up. This comes from the Norwegian Air Institute. The reason why the Norwegians are paying attention to this is because back when Chernobyl took place, they got a little bit of the radioactivity that came out of Chernobyl landed in their country. When they saw what was taking place at the other end of the trade winds, so to speak, because the wind goes from which way? From west to east. You have to pay attention. Here's the west coast. I'm on that little island. I've been saying for a long time, we need to get the heck off. Everyone on the coast here needs to get out of there. And I don't want to fearmonger, and I also want to bring to your attention that all the numbers here, these numbers are too low. They're not the correct numbers. These numbers are given, and they're what we're seeing here is assessed based on the numbers given to the Norwegian Air Institute. And we've had a non-stop series of stories coming out where the Japanese are not releasing the right numbers. The president advisor resigns in disgust, and then a couple of days later, another top advisor tells them, like, no, the cores have fully melted down, even though the government says they've only melted down 33 to 54%. Anyways, I don't want to scare you, but again, I'll leave all the links to this stuff, including the conversion table to UTC. This starts from May 8th. Okay, here's your warning. Here's your black swan. This time it's yellow, and these levels, the yellow levels, is the same thing that's coming out of Japan. So don't think that it's different. It's diluted. Here we go. There's the 9th of May. Here's the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th. Okay, again, everyone always wants to see all of North America. Here we go, Northern Hemisphere. Again, I'm starting, same date. You can see the yellow over in Japan, right? That's the same yellow that's going to be coming our way. See that yellow right out of Japan? That's what I showed you on the other map. So those of you that there's people out there saying, no, it's diffused and it's not the same. No, it's the same intensity. And I'm showing xenon gas 133 because it's one of the ones that's the easiest detectable gases, radioactive gases. Armida keeps stressing the less dangerous ones. There's hundreds of radioactive particles that are in this gas, that are coming out of these reactors. This is basically from the storm surf. Surfers use this as a forecast to know what the wind's going to be like, and is it a good time to go out surfing or not. Just look how it's going, how the winds are moving across here. Okay? See how they're not mix matching so much? They're kind of staying, northern hemisphere staying up in the north, and south is staying in the south. Remember that. That's important.
A global pop entity, due in part to the increasing continuing radiation disasters in the northern hemisphere and the financial paper abstraction/banking disasters, as well as the soon-to-be-in-your-face apparent food-growing disasters. The data accretion patterns are describing a south-flowing river of humanity. Describing a south-flowing river of humanity. The illegal immigration and nuclear and financial and food refugee problem is indicated to emerge over the remainder of 2011 with such force as to stimulate/cause reactions in the legal systems of southern hemisphere nations, while some of the brave and foolhardy will still attempt air travel. The unfortunate incidents of May, June, summer 2011 basically will put a very large dent into the demand for air travel. This is in spite of the actual demand for transportation southward. True, real horror will be known later in 2011, early 2012, as the actual levels of airborne radiations are disseminated globally by the New Humans Radiation Watch organization. And the many sheeple begin to question whether that trip to Disney World was really worth the 30,000 chest x-ray equivalents. The data also points to the rumors of summer 2011 that commercial pilots are wearing lead diapers as a pre-saying of the radiation soup in the upper atmosphere.
It's going to be those of us that have connected the dots and realize that if we stay here on the West Coast, or anywhere, I should say in North America, because those of us that have done our homework, we know what's in this toxic soup, this radioactive soup that's flowing there. We understand that the Northern Hemisphere is going to be, the soil is going to be radiated for the next 600 years. And not all of it, obviously. It all matters what altitude you're at, how much rainfall. There's a lot of things that take. I've put videos here. I'll show you that if you're in an area where there's lots of wind, you're going to be more susceptible to higher levels of radiation because this travels in the air. Hey there folks, Connecting Dots, May 13, day 64 of Fukushima. And it says right there, you see this? I'm reading this from right here, okay? Japan recently announced a massive censorship campaign to silence so-called irresponsible rumors about the nuclear radiation being released from Fukushima. Japan's weather chief also censored radiation forecasts to prevent panic in ordinary people. Oh, isn't that nice, eh? Yeah, they're not telling you because they don't want you to panic. Well, guess what? The same thing is happening here in Canada and the United States. I mentioned here in Day 62 update how the EPA is no longer monitoring the situation. They've taken down all the extra 40 mobile radiation units that they had up in the Aleutian Islands, Hawaii, Alaska. They had a bunch of mobile ones, a bunch of stationary ones that they've set out. They've taken them all down. In Canada, same thing, folks. We had the radiation monitors that were located in the city of Vancouver. They've taken them down because we're right on the West Coast, and they know darn well that the wind hits here on the West Coast, and they're on top of these buildings, and the radiation monitors were going to go off. So what's even worse, Canada now has decided now that in the event of an economic collapse or hardship, or with food shortages, they will not tell you, yes, I got the link for that, that's not it there, but I'll put it down below. They will not tell you when your food has radiation in it. Did you get that? And this is the map that, well, a lot of you don't want to look at, but I'm going to be damned here if I'm going to hide the truth and, let you all think that it's all fine. Yes, that is all of North America. Unbelievable, but you know what? If you look down below here, you see how it kind of cuts off there right near the end of Florida. And, well, there's nothing in Mexico there at this section, at this time right now. But you realize how there's almost a clean line here? Well, that's the end of your, not the end, but that's where it kind of dies off the northern hemisphere is right there. So you got a high ridge pressure in there that's keeping most of that radiation up in the northern hemisphere. And that's the reason why the webbots had predicted that there's going to be a southward flowing river of humanity. Can you not see it now? Those of us that have done the education, we know we want to protect our kids and anyone else, unless you're like 65 and over and you don't really care, then you don't really, I guess you can keep eating radiated food and breathing in the radiation, because like, I'll put a link here at the end of this video from CTV, at the end of this video. At the end of the video here, you'll see a link, and it's from CTV News, and he interviewed Gordon Edwards the second night after Fukushima, and he's blatantly honest and tells you how there's hundreds of radioactive particles spewing out of Fukushima. So if you want to sit there and pretend this is not happening, it's happening, okay? And this is not down here at the light. We're all the way down at the other end here, okay? Yeah. Okay? That's xenon gas 133. And when xenon gas 133 is detected, is what? Well, go watch the video that I will link up here, and you'll understand that when you got xenon gas 133, there's hundreds of other radioactive particles. And the ones that are hardest to detect are the ones that are nastiest towards people, that they harm you the most. Okay.
Hello YouTube, Dutch Sense here, and we are south of Boulder, Colorado, outside of El Dorado Canyon in these open meadows. And I'll just pan it over here so you can get a good idea where we really are. People that have their Geiger counters hooked up in their houses here, there we go, 776. So that's 77.6 counts per minute. Let me get this up here so you can see it. There you go. So let's do the second measurement.